Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Out of Isolation. Today we're taking you on a tour of the apocalyptic center for everything, Costco, right behind me. No, that's not true. I'm actually going to show you right over here, the beautiful, fantastic Melbourne Star. Hugo, I understand that you are at our other big high-rise for the day, or viewpoint for the day. Where are you?
I am at the Eureka Tower. It is, woo! Look at that, right there. There's 89 stories over 300 meters of apartments, believe it or not, and I'll tell you a little more about that in just a moment. Or now, well, should I go now, or should you go?
I got a few more intro. Let me finish my little intro things here. This Melbourne Star here is one of three structures like it in the world. The London Eye being the other one, and then the one in Singapore, and then this one. It also has a bit of an interesting, troubled past, but has come to emerge to become this really fascinating center of shopping here in Melbourne. So, Hugo, why don't you take it away with what you've got, though?
Yeah, so the Eureka Tower, constructed close to 20 years ago, now became Melbourne's tallest tower. It currently is Melbourne's tallest tower. Not for much longer though. We'll get to that in a moment. Let me get a good shot of it right there. Look at those amazing blue, white and gold that we can see up the top. I'll talk about that in a moment. Now, something else I wanted to point out while I'm here. A bit hard to make out in that sun. Let's try, and there we go. Can you see those gold things up there? There's one. There's one. Those are bees, golden bees. They were put on this tower when it was constructed to reflect the fact that this was the tallest residential tower in the world when it was constructed. So just like beehives congregate in a tight-knit beehive, the humans are reflected in this tower right here. An important aspect of the tower today, though, is that it is currently the best view in Melbourne. Well, that's up for debate, John. I know you're somewhere.
I don't know, man. I'm looking right underneath this amazing kind of supports that are going up to the top of the Melbourne Star, and it's pretty great. Like, I've been up this a fair few times now, and it is unlike the Eureka Skydeck, rotating. So it moves, takes about 45 minutes to complete. They call it a flight. It's a flight that you take when you go up there. And one of the best things you can do is they actually have a champagne flight that you can take, where they give you bubbly, and you go around to get the whole view. Now, one important thing.
I see what they did there, John.
Though, yeah, I know, right? It works on so many levels. But one important thing to know is that little pod right there does not have a toilet. And so if you are going to drink a lot of champagne, be aware that you have 45 minutes in that little pod. And if you try to find other ways to use the bathroom, they do have security cameras. Watch out.
Do we have any horror stories from the worst thing that's happened in those pods, John?
Let me tell you, if you want to have a real entertaining time, buy a drink for someone who works at the Melbourne Star and ask them about all the wild things they've seen people get up to on the cameras. They've had to radio in and say, "Hey, we can see you."
I think I know where you're going with this.
And it means it's a family-friendly show, Hugo.
Of course, I know. Hi to all the kids watching out there.
Well, in the meantime, speaking of kids, we got the beautiful ice cream cone over here. Most of the shops, of course, shut right now, but this is an amazing place to come for some shopping. That said, it had an inauspicious beginning. Anyone in Melbourne who's been here for more than a few years kind of knows the story of what happened over here, which is that this was the center of everything. This was going to be the shopping destination. The Docklands. They renovated the entire, or they revitalized this former kind of industrial area, and this big wheel, the Melbourne Star, was going to be the main attraction. It opened in, I believe it was 2012, maybe it's 2011. I have to look up the date. I'll put it on the screen right now. And when it did, it promptly closed just after. And why is that? Because they realized there was a construction error when they made it. They used the wrong materials in part of the construction, and it halved the lifespan of the Melbourne Star. As a result, they had a difficult choice to make. The entire place was open, this whole district, the whole Docklands area, but they had to decide whether to disassemble the Melbourne Star and then make it correctly, or to power through and lose half of the lifespan. They chose to do the former. They actually did take it down, disassemble it, and these poor people who worked in the shops here, the shop owners, had to endure a years-long period of this whole big wheel being disassembled and then reassembled. It did reopen a few years back now, and slowly but surely, this place is starting to find its feet. They just came out with a big rebrand last year. They call it the District Docklands, and they're trying to get some nice designer shops here, like the Uniqlo behind me, the General Pants Company over here. There's an H&M, because of course there is. But also they have some good dining experiences. They have a brewery, the Bourbon Alley Brewery, and also a barcade where you can play skee ball and bumper cars, and they have like an interactive arcade that you can do as well. And finally, they also have Art Beau, which is one of these things that plays with perspective. It's like, have you ever seen a sidewalk chalk, Hugo, where it's like, it makes it look like you're standing on top of a cliff and there's a big precipice, but it's all done with perspective drawings?
Yeah, I know what you mean. They're cool.
Yeah, that's Art Beau. When you go into Art Beau, you have this thing where you can jump on a surfboard, and it really looks like you were on a wave, surfing a wave, but you have to take the picture from exactly the right angle for it to work. So that's another really cool thing you can do in this area. What can you do if you're at the Skydeck?
Well, if you're at the Skydeck, the number one thing you should do is go up there. The 88th floor of the Eureka Tower is the Skydeck. Now that's a platform. Let me get across the road here, and I can actually show you where it is. So you take an elevator up there. Now these are the fastest elevators in the Southern Hemisphere.
Oh.
Whoa, there we go. Just watch out for that one, by the way. You'll hear Melburnians, Australians like throw this around, this fact that this is the tallest, fastest, longest, in the Southern Hemisphere. John, how many people, what percentage of the world's population live in the Southern Hemisphere?
Oh, like 2? It's all ocean down here.
It's like 10%, right? It's this like really sneaky trick that we do to make something sound more impressive.
You are killing all the people at Tourism Australia and Visit Victoria right now, Hugo. You gotta help them out.
Definitely impressive.
Oh man,
we've got the best
in the Southern.
We've got the best tourist agencies in the Southern Hemisphere, though. I tell you what.
Oh man, they're the greatest.
All right, let's. There we go. That is the Eureka Tower. So all the way up the top there on the 88th floor, you can walk around that whole floor. You can even grab a beer and a wine up there. And you can look out all the way towards Port Phillip Bay, the large expanse of water that Melbourne's situated on. You can see all the way to what we might call mountains, but are really just hills out in the distance.
And have you ever done the Melbourne Edge or the Skydeck, the Eureka Edge experience?
You know what? I never have. John, have you? Do you want to tell us about it?
It's pretty amazing. I think it's worth your time if you're going to go over there. It's this thing where you go into this little room, and you notice that, like, the floor and the walls and the ceiling are all glass, but it's fogged up, right? And you go in there, and then you wait there as you feel a slight movement, and you hear through the speakers a rumble, 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 rumble. What's happening is that you're standing in a glass cube, and that cube is being moved 3 meters over the edge of the building. And you don't know this at the time because they have all this kind of like rumbling sound. And the rumbling sound gets louder and louder and louder. And then all of a sudden you hear this glass shattering sound. And all the windows unfog, just like that. It is incredibly scary if you're afraid of heights, but it's also quite an experience, and it's worth your time to do, I think.
So you're just staring down 300 meters, like 1,400 feet into pavement below.
I remember when I went on it, the person who was running the ride let us know if a glass broke, how many seconds it would take us to hit the ground.
Well, that's nice to know.
Yeah, right?
Before you went splat. That's very nice of them.
Well, I'm just getting back farther away, so I've been walking down the laneway here, and so now we can just see the Melbourne Star from a distance. So it really is, it dominates the skyline. Of course, like a lot of things right now, it is shut, but when it is operating, they have these lights integrated through the entire thing, so it lights up like a disco ball in evening time. It's also one of the most prominent things you see when you're coming from Melbourne Airport. So anyone who's flown into Melbourne Airport coming to the city will usually have seen that as they cross over the Bolte Bridge. And if it's at nighttime, it's a pretty incredible welcome.
Yeah, well, while I've got you there, you're not going anywhere, are you? I just want to talk about something that even a lot of Melburnians aren't aware of. The Eureka Tower, where its name and the inspiration for the design of the building comes from. Now, we've talked a lot about the gold rush in these videos. It was the most significant event in this state's history, and on those goldfields was the biggest rebellion in this state's history. The miners were oppressed by a corrupt police force at that time. They were very aggressive towards those who hadn't paid their license fees. So you've got to remember, people are coming from all over the world because they've been told they're going to come here and strike it rich. They get here, they're dealing with an aggressive police force. They're required to pay about $1,500 a year in licenses. Now, a few other things occur that make the miners decide to band together. They create a flag to represent themselves. That's a blue flag with a white cross, today known as the Eureka flag. They hoist that up a flagpole in the middle of Ballarat. That's the main gold mining town, about an hour and a half north from here. They barricade themselves in. They prevent the police, the soldiers, from getting to them. Now, what they don't expect to happen is the soldiers to be given orders to break through those barricades in the middle of the night. With their rifles firing, they kill 30 miners. 13 more are captured and put on trial for treason against the government. Now, we like to think it's the start of an Australian democracy, the day where those miners are cleared and found innocent against those treason charges. And so when you look at the building today, you see the inspiration for its design, the blue colour with the white stripes, the Eureka flag. Up the top, this section is actually glass infused with 24 karat gold, reflecting that gold rush. And that red stripe just there, that represents the blood that was shed on the gold fields that morning, fighting for our democracy. How cool is that?
Well, I got a fun fact about that as well, Hugo.
Yeah, hit me.
Do you know the architectural firm that designed that? Do you know what other major building they designed in the world?
Would it be somewhere in Kuala Lumpur?
Absolutely. The Twin Towers, the ones that I always associate with that great, fantastically bad, but really good Sean Connery movie with Catherine Zeta-Jones, Entrapment. Have you seen that?
I'm a big fan of anything Catherine Zeta-Jones is in. I have.
Fantastic movie that features those towers, same architectural firm.
Well, there
Last
you
thing
go.
I want to mention over on my side is that I've got the Melbourne Star behind me, but I've made my way to the waterfront because right behind me is the marina. So if you're taking a boat, you sail over here from Sydney or Hobart or anywhere else, you can actually say this is the city marina here. You can pay your berthing fee and have quite a nice view, especially if you want to go watch football. Right there is Marvel Stadium, which has just been rebranded. The Asia Pacific headquarters of Disney is right here, and so they decided to pay for the naming rights of what used to be Etihad Stadium, and before that was just the Docklands Stadium, before we went with all the corporate naming. My favorite little hidden thing about this is that on the sign there where it says Marvel, on the very top left above the M, if you look really, really closely, you'll be able to see a small figurine of Ant-Man. And so you'll notice it when you take the train in from anywhere in kind of the northern suburbs or the western suburbs. When you're pulling into Southern Cross Station, if you look really closely or have a zoom on your camera, you'll be able to see this little Ant-Man on top. I love that little Easter egg.
Cool as that. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it was good. See, look at we're teaching each other. We're learning
Teaching
here.
each other. That's what tour guiding life is about.
Oh, it was fantastic. Well, as we bring things to a close, guys, I want to thank you all for joining us. My name is John. This has been Out of Isolation, our daily web series where us out-of-work tour guides find a way to show you the city while you're stuck at home. If you guys have enjoyed this, something that you can do, Hugo, do you know what it is?
Oh, you got to like this video, you got to hit subscribe, you've got to stay tuned for more of these videos because they're coming at you, and we will see you on our next episode.
Tomorrow. See you tomorrow.
Tomorrow. There you go.
Right.
See you then.
Bye, everyone. Cool. All right.
Cool.
And that's a wrap for the day.
Yeah. I didn't talk about 108, but I don't think it was needed.
No, I thought even when you started going into Eureka Stockade, I was like, oh man, we're already at 10 minutes.
Yeah. You can cut it if you want.
I like the improvisational